All right, well, spring is in full bloom, but is your porch here to help us spruce up for spring? It's Justin Hancock from Costa Farms. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and great question.
Thank you,
That was
thank
a great
you.
question you had there. Okay, so let's talk about our front porches, because mine is looking kind of sad. Everything's dying.
Yeah, it was tough. We had that freeze this winter. Everything's kind of off season now.
Right. So you brought some things to help us spruce things up on our front porch. What are some things we can add?
All right, if you want high impact, low care, something like Mandevilla is a great choice. Mandevilla comes in both vining forms if you have a structure for it to climb, and then mounding forms if you don't. It blooms in shades of red, pink, yellow, and white. It's good for butterflies and hummingbirds, and it's really drought tolerant. So if you go away for a weekend or maybe even a week, it'll still be looking good when you get home.
Wow. Now, is this something that you keep in a pot or you plant it?
Either way. It grows fabulously in a pot. It might need a little extra watering just because it can't draw moisture from the soil the same way.
Well, it's beautiful. Okay, what else do you got here?
You know, hibiscus are tried and true tropicals too. You know, these are really high impact. I call them 55-mile-an-hour plants. Hopefully people aren't driving 55 miles an hour down your street.
Yes,
but, you know, you can see the color just from a distance. And newer varieties have so many more flowers than the old-fashioned ones. And so it's just a great way to add this big oomph of color.
Yeah, now we're talking about porch plants. So they don't need a lot of sun if they're covered?
So these guys do better in sun. And then if you have a shady porch, that's a great transition. Sun patients will grow in either shade or sun. They come in so many colors. You see some glorious pinks and white here. And then caladiums also. If you don't want to have to worry about, you know, is it going to stay in flower? Can I keep it blooming? Great, fabulous choice.
Yeah, this gives you some color without the delicateness of the flowers. So.
And then an interesting way, you can also do houseplants. On a shaded porch. You know, they love the heat and humidity that we have throughout the summer. So you can just throw some houseplants if you don't want to buy a new plant. Let them get a little bit bigger and then bring them in for the winter before it starts to get cold again.
Great idea. Okay, and what are we looking at there on the bottom?
So here we have a peace lily with that big white flower.
Oh, a peace lily,
and then we have a variegated rubber tree.
Okay, both good for the porch.
Fantastic for porches.
Okay, now last week we were talking about butterfly plants. Everyone wants to attract the beautiful butterflies, so you brought some of those for today as well.
So these are great nectar plants. One of my favorites here is pentas. Pentas will bloom almost all year long here in the Tampa area. Has these umbels of flowers. They come in a nice range of colors. They're really heat and drought tolerant. So it's kind of a plant it and forget it kind of thing. If you want more color, you can go with a plant like lantana here.
I love this.
Lantana is an absolute,
pink.
absolute butterfly magnet, and also really heat and drought tolerant.
Okay, good.
Salvia is another tried and true choice in salvias.
So this is the purple one here. I don't know if you can
it's as good for hummingbirds as it is butterflies as well. And then Angeloni is kind of a sleeper one that not a lot of people think about. It has these spikes like a salvia, also really heat drought tolerant, blooms all summer long, no problem.
Yeah, and then I like how you mix, this is all the same plant but different colors.
Exactly. So you can give a little oomph.
I love that.
And then Gerber daisies.
Gerber daisies, I like a good
They're
Gerber daisy.
so cheerful. They make a nice landing pad for the butterflies to land on.
So
also
you
come in a wide
these,
range.
You bring these into your yard or porch, and then the butterflies and the animals will
Exactly.
I love
Now,
that.
the real secret, if you want to truly attract the butterflies and keep them, so these are all great nectar plants for the butterflies, but also to plant host plants for the caterpillars. Each kind of butterfly will attract a certain kind of, or each kind of plant will attract a certain kind of butterfly. So do a little research. Like if you want monarchs, plant milkweeds. That's the only kind of plant that the caterpillars can eat. So that way you get the babies and the adults staying in your yard rather than being a more transient experience.
Yeah, and this is all good for the environment, right? We want butterflies to come into our yard, right?
You know, it's a very holistic feeling. It gives you more color too because you've got the color of the butterflies as well as the color of the flowers.
I know. Okay, so did we talk about what's on the bottom here?
Here's another sun patience. You know, just really good for really any space, as long as you keep it watered. The one downside to sun patience is it's a very thirsty flower.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And if we want to find out more information, is there a website that we can go to?
CostaFarms.com.
CostaFarms.com.
Yeah, we have a full plant library. We have a team of experts that can answer your plant questions too. There's online chat.
Perfect.
We want to get you set up for success.
I know, because I do not have a green thumb. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.